When I was younger, I always wished for a bigger brother that would teach me how to be social. I had social anxiety my entire life and I didn't know how to speak to people, and especially to random girls I found attractive. So I always hoped for someone to show me how to do it. I didn't have that, so I had to learn all of that by myself. I was a nervous wreck, I was awkward, but I improved. If you can't relate to that, this video isn't for you, but if you can, then I made this analysis especially for you, for people like me.
Maybe you'll get to go there another time.
No, I don't think so. But it's a nice idea. Maybe
I like how he paused here. The way she said it's a nice idea and then just waited for 6 seconds to see if he feels the need to fill the space, to fill the silence. Because that's the thing. If you're insecure, if you're unsure, it's really common for you to feel like you have to be there, have to entertain her the whole time, have to fill every silence, that there can't be awkward silence between you two. So it's a really easy way to sort out how confident you are just by her saying nothing for 5 seconds and seeing how you react. And I noticed that in this scene, it's in general a lot about what he does not do. He does not talk here. He does not feel the need to fill the silence. When we try to improve, we usually try to do more. We try to add things to our plate, try to do new stuff. But if you look at pros, for example, pro athletes, a pro basketballer, they don't do more. They don't do more when they try to improve on their basketball skills. They do less. They take away pretty much everything but basketball so they can focus better on basketball. And it's the same with every other skill in life. If you really want to improve, you shouldn't try to do more. You ideally want to do less of everything else so you can focus on that thing. And it's the same with body language.
to Carlo Vivari. The baths there are wonderful.
Right here, he turned really slowly. First off, that shows that he's comfortable. He's moving at his own pace, meaning that he's kind of his own boss. He's not letting anyone else tell him how fast he should move. And also, the way he turned right here is really important, because before you saw him facing that direction the entire time. Even when he was talking, the only way he talked to her was like tilting his head towards her. But now his entire body language switched. He starts to really face her with his entire body. His face is facing her, his body is facing her, and that shows that he's now giving her his full attention. He's present. Before, he didn't really know her, so he wasn't giving her his full attention, but now he switched and he showed that he's really interested. And that shows that it's based on what she's saying. She needs to earn that attention. It's nothing he just gives out, but just because she's a woman, he gives it out when she's interesting, when she's a cool person and she deserves his attention. Then he switches and faces her. And that has an additional layer if you look at the story of this series right here. In this scene, he's there for the woman that he's talking to, but she doesn't know that he knows who she is, that he wants to get close to her, essentially know how much information she has, because he was part of the people who made her husband leave the world, to say it in child-friendly terms. So he's acting like he doesn't know her, but he does. And so the way he's acting here with his body language is supporting that. By only giving his attention out when she's actually interesting, it's really natural. It feels like it's real, because if you wouldn't know a person, you wouldn't instantly just be all over them, asking them questions. They need to slowly build that up. So this just makes it more realistic, and it's also important when you talk to girls, okay? You don't want to instantly give her all the attention. You want to give it out selectively when she deserves it, when she's treating you good.
Carlo be
Body. Not.
This also I find really, really important, because this is more so important for me because I used to be like that clown, right? I used to be the clown around girls who just try to make them laugh because I thought that's the way to her pants, right? If you make them laugh and giggle, you can make that ass clap and jiggle. I thought that's it, but it's not just it. You need to actually have good banter. You need to be charismatic besides of being funny. Being funny alone doesn't get you girls. But comedians get a lot of goods, yeah, because they make a lot of money. That's something completely else. But I find this really important because he's not trying to be a clown here. He's not trying to create some Instagram highlight reel 24/7 where all the time something's happening in the background, and he's trying to make it as interesting as possible. He just treats her like a normal person, and he's kind of having funny banter, but like naturally. He's not preparing any jokes or being weirdly funny where he's forcing it. And it's just natural fun, and that's really rare nowadays because women are put on pedestals by men so often that it's just like, okay, everyone's just acting like a comedian around them, even though first you're not that funny, and second it's not helping you. You're just her entertainment, not the guy she wants to live with.
Far from Prague.
Oh, Prague. Yes. There.
I want to talk about the pointer right here. I don't know if you caught that.
Prague.
Oh, Prague. Yeah.
Right here. So naturally, pointing like this is threatening. I think if you watch my videos, you know that pointing with one finger is always picked up as threatening. But in this case, it's, I think, good body language, because even though he's threatening her in a subconscious way because of his body language, he also shows that he isn't static. So I think most guys in this scenario, if they talk to a girl they would find attractive, not that she's attractive, but in general, if they would talk to a girl like that, they would be static. They would probably be in their heads overthinking about what they should do, and they would just look really tight, like they're not moving a lot. So by him going out here and pointing at her, having a bit of fun, not being so static, it shows that he's really comfortable, that he's at ease, he's loose, and it just makes him easier to feel comfortable around.
There. I always wanted to go visit there. I'm Ben.
Ben. Hello, I'm Margareta.
Oh, it's very nice to meet you, Mar.
I have to talk about the body language here. So in general, it's good how he, his upper part right here, his shoulders are flared out really nicely. That's good. I think this is the issue. I think it isn't great because you see how, because of clasping his hands right here, he makes his entire body a lot smaller. If you would imagine that he wouldn't clasp his hands right in front of his body and just let his arms flare out like this, it will create a lot more space for him, which would make him seem more confident. But in this scenario, it's actually helpful because he knows his target, so to speak. So the woman he's talking to essentially just lost her husband a couple of months ago or days ago, so she's in a depressed mood, she's sad. So him trying to create as much space as possible here wouldn't really be helping. Instead, having these hands together, having a more submissive stand is helpful because it shows that you're easier to approach, you seem less dangerous. In general, if you want to talk to random girls that haven't just lost their husband, it's important that you take up a lot of space. You seem big, you seem confident in a room. But here in this scenario, it's good body language because he knows that the one he's talking to isn't just a normal girl, right?
I knew his work was dangerous, but never imagined such a thing. Well, I suppose I tried not to.
That is terrible. What kind of accident was it?
So this is called active listening. He listened to what she said and then asked a question based on that. So when people talk, in the sentence, there are multiple so-called jumping points. So there are points that they say that you could ask a specific question to develop the conversation further. In this case, she talked about the accident. So he took that accident, that part of her sentence, as a jumping point and asked, what kind of accident was it? Ask a question specific to that to develop that conversation. If you have flat conversation and you're only like talking in an interview style conversation where you ask a question, then they answer, and then they ask a question, you answer, and it's just this back and forth, it's not natural, it's not fun for either of you, and you probably get nowhere. So active listening changed my life. I didn't do it before. I always had these interview boring ass conversations, but then if you use what they say and use that as a jumping point to develop that conversation further, it changes the social game for you.
Cave in.
Cave in.
This was phenomenal again, okay? You heard how he just repeated the last word she said. Have you ever had the feeling that people only ask you questions just so they could talk more about themselves? If you hadn't, then man, you got good people around you, because I have all the time. Here's the thing. Repeating the last words that they said is probably the best way to get to know someone further without asking in a weird sense. He could have had this two ways. He could have asked her, oh, can you please tell me more about that? That would be weird. That would be like, why do you want to know more about that? But by him just repeating the last word that she said, it makes her feel interesting, because he's obviously listening to her, and it seems like what she's saying, it makes him feel a certain way. It makes him feel invested in her story. So now she feels good about herself, and she's opening up more easily. And all of that just by saying a single word. I think it's really interesting, and people don't notice it. You can do it for hours and hours. You can just repeat the last words when you think carefully in how you repeat them. People don't notice. I think it's from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think he talks about the same concept there. So a guy who focused on social skills his entire life and then wrote a book about it and made that one of his most important points, I think you should use it too. All right, it's working in real life. It's working everywhere. Repeat the last words that they said, and they will keep talking and go more in depth about it. I will give you another example of that.
Now, sure, they must have told you something.
The lawyers came to my house. I asked questions. They wouldn't say much.
Lawyers.
Look, you saw he did it again, right? He said lawyers. And it's also the way he says it, right? It's not just that he repeats the last word. He also says it with so much emotion, which shows that he's really invested. Paired with the strong eye contact, it makes her seem like she's the only one that he cares about right now. And that's what presence is. He's present in this conversation. He's interested in what she's saying. And he makes her feel special by repeating what she's saying so she can talk more about herself. We all love talking about ourselves, so giving someone the opportunity for that is like a gift. But that was it for the video. Thank you for watching. Stay big, man.